Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Wayne County. My name is Tim Briner, and I'll be your worship associate today. We are a diverse congregation that welcomes you as you are, regardless of your age, ethnicity, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, economic status, or physical ability. We come together to seek deeper meaning and understanding from each other and the world around us. Your presence here today is a gift that brings us closer to that understanding. We are an active community that lives its values beyond the hours of Sunday service, and I would like to call your attention to the following. A special meeting has been called for June 9th. The meeting will allow the membership to determine if the UUFWC will officially endorse a ceasefire resolution in Gaza that will be presented to the Worcester City Council on June 17th. All members are welcome to join the discussions on the merits of this resolution and the rationale for the UUFWC official endorsement. These discussions will occur on Sunday, May 26th at 11:15 a.m. in the main sanctuary, and on Sunday, June 2nd at 11:15 a.m. in the large group room. Come join us for a relaxed potluck on Sunday, June 2nd after the service. All ages are welcome. Please bring a dish to share, no nuts, and your own plates and utensils. Check with the membership committee if you have any questions. The annual UUFWC yard sale is June 14th and 15th. Start prepping your gently used items to donate and sign up to volunteer throughout the week of June 9th through the 15th. Additional information and sign-up sheets are in the lobby, or contact Wendy Ziegler-Clark of the fundraising committee. Please take a look at the back of your order of service for more information regarding events and activities taking place at the fellowship. If you would like to find out more about our activities, feel free to ask Karen Skubik.
Thank you, Tim. And yes, I certainly do welcome people to talk to me about all the things Tim mentioned and more. One thing I think that's neat, every Sunday it's like it's a different group in here, and we have visitors today that are always so welcome, and everybody, sometimes they're here, sometimes they're not, but we all still feel that community feeling when we come in here, which is kind of a neat thing. So if you are new here and you do have questions afterwards, I'll be standing in the back of the sanctuary afterwards, or anybody that wants to talk to me is welcome to come back there. And I think Reverend Walter will be back there as well in the back of the sanctuary. So you can talk to both of us if you have any questions. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning. Unlike the first unofficial day of summer, with Memorial Day weekend, I have seen a lot of very close haircuts today that I did not see previously, so I know that it's that time of year. I want to welcome everybody, and again, there is no time for all ages today, so I want my little friends here. Y'all understand that there's not going to be no Jenny today. You're welcome to hang out here and stuff. It's cool? All right, as long as we're still cool over here. Today is a very interesting day. Memorial Day is one of those days that is difficult for a lot of people. When I was an intern at UU Richmond, there were a lot of concerns about Memorial Day because Unitarian Universalists, some of them have a history of not treating service members well. And so it can be a difficult time for some people who are Unitarian Universalists. I never understood that, because how could you dismiss anybody who chooses to give their life to serve? That's so much of what I think armed forces service can and should be about. So while today is often the unofficial start of summer, I do want us to lift up the reverence of this day. This is a very important day for our country, and if you take a look at it deeply, for our faith. And I hope to take you on that journey today. Please keep your hearts and minds opened and your cell phones in worship mode as we begin our time together. Ding our bell. No.
Our chalice lighting this morning, To Remember the Fallen by Annalisa Range. To remember the fallen is not to remember how they fell, but to remember why and for what. To remember the fallen is not only to remember their actions, but to remember the dream for which they fought. To remember the fallen is not to remember how they fought, but to remember who they fought for. To remember the fallen is to remember their reason, to remember their dreams, and to remember those they fought to save. To remember the fallen, we continue their fight, we carry their dreams, and we finish what they start. Let us now rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn. The music can be found in the gray hymnal, number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Please join me now in the spirit
of meditation, and of prayer. Take a deep breath. Put your feet on the floor, if it is comfortable for you, and just breathe. Where's the tensions resting in your body? Breathe into your shoulders. Let it out. Relax. Is your tongue on the roof of your mouth? Are your brows tight? And just breathe. The season of hecticness is beginning. The busy summer with all of the have-tos that we are doing for fun. Allow yourself a little bit of grace. Remind yourself you don't have to do all the things. You just have to center yourself. This is the moment for you to put down all of those worries, all of those possibilities, all of the maybes, and just be in this moment. Remember, amongst all of the busyness, you are enough, just as you are. We come into this congregation with different joys and sorrows that lift us up or weigh us down, especially this weekend when we think about friends and relatives who may have fallen during battle, during service. If there is a sorrow that weighs on your heart this morning, I encourage you to come while we sing Spirit of Life, to take one of our stones and to place that worry on that stone and to let it go into the water. And if there is something that lifts your heart, I encourage you to do the same and let the ripples of the water spread that joy to everyone. If you have lost someone who is in the armed services, I especially encourage you to come up today. Sue Gross from our pastoral care team is here. If you would like to meet with someone with pastoral care, let Sue know, and she'll come and find you after service, help you set up something. And I would be glad to meet with people as well. If you would like to have a meeting with me this week, while I am up here, please let me know. Let us now participate in our joys and sorrows ritual as we sing Spirit of Life.
Our faith is centered on the belief that we can make this world a better place for all who dwell in it. In order to realize that vision, we need both the motivation and the means. Your donation helps the community put its faith into action by supporting our programming and facilities. This morning and throughout the month of May, donations that are not designated for another purpose will be split with 180. 180 is a nonprofit organization that helps people recover from addiction and substance abuse. They also assist victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. The offering will now be collected and gratefully received. Please join me in this unison reading. Words are on the screen. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others. Please join me now for a responsive reading. The text will appear on the screens. Please read aloud the italicized print at the bottom. To offer one's life in the service is something greater than oneself, is the ultimate way to embody one's beliefs. We are all called to serve in our own way, using our gifts to create a better world for everyone. But today, we honor those who served and died for the country. We lift up not only their lives, but the lives of all who die in conflicts. Their lives, too, are precious. They are members of our global family. We light this candle to honor your life. We remember you. The conflicts of the world claim not only the soldiers who serve, but the families they leave behind. We honor the sacrifice which they did not choose to make, and we hold them in our hearts in their times of loss. If you have lost a loved one who died in service to their country, I invite you to speak their name aloud. We light this candle to honor your loss. We remember you. One day we hope that the conflicts of the world will cease, but hope is not enough. May we work to create a global community of mutual love and respect, for that is the goal of everyone who is lost in battle. We light the candle to honor your vision. May we all live in peace.
He never talked about the war. He was proud of his service. I was never in doubt. But when it came to the details beyond what branch he served and where he was stationed, you never heard a word about it. He believed it was for the best. It's not something the children need to hear about, especially his children. Children are smart. They pick up on things that are unsaid. So even though he never talked about the war, his oldest daughter knew that it affected him. Occasionally, she would catch him in the garage going through an old metal box. The box had his last name on it, some numbers, plus a large red plus sign in a white circle. When her father realized he was no longer alone in the garage, he would quickly close the box and put it away before she could ask about it. But one day, she managed to sneak a look inside that box. There she found pins, designated his rank as sergeant, as well as some other military pins that she couldn't understand. There was also a large piece of cloth. It was white, with a red sun just off center, shooting red rays out to the edge. The old flag of Japan. This was how Jan was able to determine that her father was a medic during World War II. The box, his old medic kit. The flag confirmed that he was stationed in the Philippines. And he never talked about the war. But it was still with him now that he was stateside. He would occasionally wake up in the middle of the night, screaming, reliving some memories from his time overseas. He never shared details of his dreams, not with his wife, and certainly not with his daughter. He was of the generation where men did not disclose such things. He confronted his past in a much subtler and gentler way. Every week he would watch a television show called Combat. Ooh. For those of you unfamiliar with the show, it was an hour-long weekly drama about World War II that ran from 1962 to 1967. And he would watch the show every week. And he couldn't watch it alone. So he would curl up on the couch and ask Jan, who was only 10 years old, to just sit and watch it with him and snuggle up close. They didn't discuss it. They didn't talk. They just watched. I imagine that comforting presence of his daughter just there had to keep his anxiety down. That way he could deal with the memories without talking about them. Because after all, we don't talk about the war. War changes people. I know, it's a common sentiment that is said all the time, but how often do we really think about the enormity of that statement, the depth of change that actually happens? Soldiers who serve in battles experience things that cannot be understood by others. Their lives are forever changed by what they have seen and heard and felt. And on an intellectual level, we know, those of us who have not served, that it can be painful and difficult. But I don't think it is possible for anyone who has not gone through it to fully understand it on an emotional level. We imagine it to be like Jan's father, maybe. That stoic silence, occasional nightmares, and a box of memories that is tucked away, that no one has access to. And that happens for some soldiers. But for others, what they encounter changes them so drastically that for some part of them dies on the battlefield, making it impossible to survive back home. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, military veterans have a 57% higher risk of suicide than those who have not served. And in 2021, there was an average of 17.5 veteran suicides per day. And that number's under debate. Because how many are maybe unreported or misreported? That number, my friends, may actually be low. Whatever that number may be, we know for certain that suicide is an issue for those who serve. And it's not the only one. Veterans have a higher rate of divorce, more struggles with addiction, and higher instances of depression. According to a 2023 survey by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, over 35,000 veterans are homeless. We cannot deny that some men and women suffer wounds of the heart, suffer wounds of the spirit on the battlefield, wounds that are so hard to see and are no less painful. Wounds that can be fatal if they are not treated. And it is hard to treat what's not talked about. And we don't talk about the war. Many soldiers don't talk about the war, not just because they want to spare you those horrific details, but because it can be so hard for someone who has not gone through it to comprehend. Words are not adequate enough to explain the reoccurring feelings that will not stop. And since it is so hard to explain to loved ones and friends, some just give up. They give up trying to get support from those who love them. And these are wounds of disconnection, something that we all know and understand that we need. We all realize we need to be connected to something larger than ourselves. Family, friends, community. That, my friends, is the very essence of spirituality, to be connected to something larger than yourself. And when those who have served our country return home and are no longer able to connect, that is a spiritual wound. And if they are unable to treat that wound, it leads to isolation or addiction, or worse. Spiritual wounds can be fatal. Not as immediately fatal as those received in battle, my friends, but fatal nonetheless. Jan's father had one of those slow, fatal wounds. His wound, however, was very much physical, not just spiritual. One day, Jan came home to find her father had come home from work sick, something he almost never did. He was wrapped in blankets from head to foot and sweating heavily. Jan's mother explained that while her father was in the Philippines, he contracted malaria. It was something you could never get over. It was something you lived with, something you couldn't predict. And when it would strike, you didn't know how bad it was going to be, and it could still kill you if you weren't careful. He also brought back with him a condition that ate away at the skin on his legs, leaving little tiny holes so deep that you could actually see the bone. It was believed that this condition and the malaria he suffered weakened his immune system so much that his body was unable to fight off the cancer growing within it. He did as much as he could to fight it, hoping to stay alive long enough to see the very first grandchild that his daughter Jan was carrying. And try as he might, he died at the age of 46, 3 months before his grandson was born. And so to honor her father, Jan gave her newborn son her father's name, Walter. I think of my grandfather every Memorial Day. I wondered about the man he was, how he would have gotten along, and what I missed by not having time with him. I have some clues, thanks to my mother. I know that he was a hard-working, blue-collar guy. He always put his family first. My mother said he often had holes in his shoes because his kids were always in need of something, all 5 of them, and he could make do with cardboard to cover up the holes until his next paycheck. He never took his kids to the doctor unless it was for immunization, because as a medic, he didn't need to bother the doctors with it. He was a no-nonsense kind of guy. And when I asked my mom about his time in the service, the thing she highlighted said he never complained about it. He wasn't bitter. He wasn't bitter about getting malaria. He wasn't bitter about being exposed to DDT in the Philippines. He wasn't bitter about any of it. And he certainly had every right to be bitter if he wanted to. My dad saw life as a blessing, my mother said. It was his belief that we are obligated to do the best we can with the life we have and the talents we are blessed with. And that's what he did, she told me. Life is a blessing. We all have a gift to use in this life, and to waste it, well, that would just be a slap in the face. While doing the research for this sermon, while looking up all of those statistics and reading the articles about homeless veterans and depression and divorce rates, I found myself asking, why would people still enlist if they knew about all of this? The life of a soldier is full of risk both on and off the battlefield. Why take the chance? Because these men and women are using their talents in the best way they know how. These soldiers understand the responsibility they have with the blessing of life that they have received. They know what they need to do, and they just do it. I have a friend who served in the armed forces who I went to seminary with, and I asked him one day, I'm curious, how does it feel when someone says to you, thank you for your service? And he admitted to me, that's weird. It was just a job for him. It was just something he did. Why thank me for doing my job? When we see a soldier, we need to think of somebody who is taking risks in order to provide for the greater good. We see the danger so often when we see a soldier. We see all of the reasons not to do it. And many soldiers just see what needs to be done. They see the job to do. They see what they have to offer, and they do what they can to make the world a better place. It is their way of living into life's blessing. So tomorrow's Memorial Day. And I want everyone to enjoy the first day unofficially of summer with their picnics and their days off, those of you who are lucky enough to have tomorrow off. And it is a day to honor those who have died in the armed forces while serving our country. And I want to lift up that not all lives lost in service are lost on the battlefield. Some lives are ended by hidden diseases, like my grandfather, and some lives are ended by the emotional trauma that is suffered in the battlefield that cannot be reconciled when they return home, at least not with the resources our government provides now. Each one of those lives deserves our respect. Each one of those lives is sacred. Each soldier that served did what they felt was their obligation in life, and each of us should strive to do the same with our gifts. Each of us should live into the blessings that we have in order to champion our beliefs and to make this world a better place. Never forget that life is a blessing. Tomorrow, while I am hosing down my porch and trying to get the charcoal to light, I will still think of my grandfather. I will mourn the contact that we never had. But I will be glad of the blessings that I have still received from him. The blessings of knowing your convictions. The blessings of fiercely loving your family. The blessing of quietly doing what needs to be done just because you're capable of doing it. And instead of saying to him, thank you for your service, I will say, thank you for the blessing. May it be so. Let us now rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 128 in the gray hymnal, For All That Is Our Life. I hope you remember the message of those who have served our country. To use your gifts to the best of your ability. To champion what you believe in. To make the world a better place and sometimes just get things done. for all you do and all that you bring to this world. All of you are a blessing.